Ready. Play.
Hey, John.
Hey, how are you? Oh, listen. You know what this is?
Is that the last call?
This is called Europe, Miles. This is Europe.
This is French.
I'm in Luxembourg, of all places.
That used to be home of a WTA tournament that the likes of Ana Ivanovic and Clara Towson won.
There we go. Knowledge. How you doing, Andre? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Just leaving in a bit. So yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Stuff.
I mean, yeah, go whenever, if not now or whatever. I'm just coming to say hi and maybe have a chat to Miles for a few minutes.
All right.
And just say hello, everyone. But thank you, Andre. Really
See you, Andre.
it.
Good talking to you.
Me, guys.
Yeah, see you later. Soon. Take care.
Keep talking tennis. Bye.
Yeah.
Later.
So, Miles, I have not seen a huge amount of tennis today. I saw, I think, about 6 points from the Dan Evans Hatchanoff match, but they were the last 6 points. I saw the first set and a half of Danielle Collins's match, and the match was not about the first set and a half, unfortunately for Danielle, because if it was, then she'd be safely through to the next round because she was up a break in that second set. What else have I seen? A few points here and there, but not a huge. I know most of the results, but yeah, I don't know if there's anything that stood out for you on day two that either I've mentioned or elsewhere.
I think Osaka's cleanliness in her match against Ostapenko definitely was a star of the show or like action today, because I believe she had single digit unforced errors, and she also closed out Ostapenko in less than an hour. So all in all, that was probably the cleanest match she's played and her best victory in over 4 years, her first top 10 victory in over 4 years. So that was a big headline from today's action. And then on the complete,
I like that. It's a good shout.
On the opposite end, Iga Swiatek won, but it was kind of scratchy, maybe more than kind of scratchy. Her opponent, Rakimova, had 4 consecutive set points in the second set tiebreak, and Iga barely managed to squeak it out. But she still wins and goes to the next round. But she definitely kind of shook hands and walked to the outside of the court, looking a little bit worried about her level. So there was that.
Yeah, Rybakina had a similar sort of situation as well, where she was sort of struggling to get through the second set. I saw a good tweet from Nick basically comparing those two passages. Coming back to Osaka, I could see people were just starting to panic in the last few weeks regarding Naomi. I understand why, because I think there was some optimism at various points in Indian Wells and Miami, and then through even 1 or 2 parts of the grass court season. And then of course, there was the match with Iga, which I think gave the French Open gave most people sense of optimism. And then it felt like she just didn't kick on. In fact, if anything, regressed in recent weeks. I was still hoping, and maybe more than hope, there was some reason for hope. I thought even in a qualifying loss that she had in Cincinnati, okay, yeah, 3-set, really tight 3-set loss that she had there. I still thought there was grounds for optimism, and I thought a nice draw, and she did not have a nice draw, but I thought a nice draw, and she still gets to the second week for me, but she's not had it, and yet I do think that after the first couple of rounds, there's sort of rounds 3 and 4 are not too bad for her, because I think I've got her in the quarters playing Badosa. I already had Osaka getting to for me, it was largely about this first round and if she could get past Ostapenko. Fortunately for Naomi, Ostapenko is really scratching for form now as well.
She doesn't have to go through a seed now for a path to at least the 4th round. I mean, her next opponent is Mukova, who just made the semifinals at the U.S. Open last year. But the winner of Osaka and Mukova gets the winner of Lepchenko and Potapova, and that's for a spot in the 4th round. So, I mean, I think Mukova and Osaka would be licking their chops at either of those players, and then her fourth round opponent would be at the highest Jasmine Paolini or the lowest seed Putin-Seva.
Right. So that's not. She's going to run into a seed in the fourth round anyway, and that's not bad. That's not bad.
It could be worse. It could be way worse. It could be way worse.
So it was a difficult first round for Naomi, but like we often see in these draws, you pick someone to go deep, and in fact, I have Naomi in the semi-finals in my bracket.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, but it is kind of, there's two parts to it. One was, how does she do today? And this is, I mean, I made this obviously prediction a couple of days ago, but it was all about how does she do today? And then she gets to the semis, not because I think she's one of the four favorites going into the US Open, but I liked the draw from there onwards, and a couple of wins, and I think, you know, she's off. Now, that's not to say she's a definite to beat Mukova, but you know, and she could be out in a couple of days. But yeah, I just think it's there for her, and I think if she's going to perform well anywhere in the whole calendar year, you know, if she's going to make the quarters or a semis somewhere, it's probably going to be here.
But you know that fun fact about her Grand Slam career? If she gets to the fourth round and wins that match, she wins the tournament. I think that is absolutely fascinating. So, I mean, if she does get to the fourth round and wins it, watch out, everybody, because she doesn't have the experience of losing after that point.
All or nothing, it's for her, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a great one to highlight. Swiatek, I didn't see a single point from that match, but that is a little surprising that she had those struggles, because even the first set was anything but easy for her over the lucky loser. Rybakina, I was probably a bit more worried about, just because of, you know, barely playing in recent months, and when she does take to the court, she doesn't always finish the match. So still there'll be some concerns. Do you think Iga might struggle a bit here in New York? I mean, it's probably a slightly better slam for her than Australia.
Yeah, because she's actually lifted a trophy here, but then I'm looking at her draw, and her next opponent is Ina Shibahara, and that would be probably an upset of the century if Shibahara is able to pull that off. Even if Swiatek is not up to snuff by her standards that day, that would be upset of the century. And then the highest seed, or the seed in the third round that she's set to face, is Pavlyuchenkova, and I believe she's double bageled Pavlyuchenkova on clay, which is obviously where she's most comfortable. But I would actually like Iga's. I think I like Iga's ability, even with a scratchy match today. I like her ability to go further than Rybakina. Rybakina also has a on paper easy matchup in the second round against Jessica Panchet of France, or Panchet maybe of France, and then the winner of that gets the winner of Wozniacki and conqueror of Caroline Garcia today, Renata Zarazura, who is of lucky loser facing Raducanu at Wimbledon this year fame. So on paper,
I think my internet is breaking up.
Oh, is it your internet, or is
here?
Okay? On paper, Rybakina and Iga have pretty smooth routes to get to the fourth round. It's a matter of them showing their best tennis, really. Iga has just seemed a little bit. I'm trying to think of another word besides fragile, because I wouldn't necessarily use that word. Frazzled. I think Iga has been frazzled since her Wimbledon loss. She hasn't won a title since then. And then Rybakina seems to have been frazzled since the Wimbledon loss too. She was up a set against Krejcikova, and it kind of all fell apart for her, and she hasn't been really healthy and on court since then. So
that is a good word for Iga, actually, because I think from time to time, at various points in what has been a sensational sort of 2 or 3 years for her, there have been moments where she's a little frazzled, and you know the questions arise, and then she goes on a streak, and that's That's pretty much it. And that's been good. And the streaks are so sensational. It's meant she's been pretty much number one nonstop for about 3 years.
Her
I say pretty much
hardcourt
nonstop.
her hardcourt losses this year are. Did she have a loss in United Cup before Australian Open in singles? I don't think she had one in singles. I think
last year she lost to Pegula.
Yes, this year it was Noskova in Australia. I believe she lost to Kalinskaya in Dubai, Alexandrova in Miami, and then she didn't play hard courts up until Cincinnati again, and that was a loss to Sabalenka, a very heavy loss. But those early losses to Noskova, Kalinskaya, and Alexandrova, they give me some pause for concern, I think.
Listen, imagine you're an Iga fan right now, okay? Do you want the good news or the bad news?
I'm sure there's somebody watching this like, oh, he would never be an Iga fan. But yes, give me the bad news. The bad news first.
Bad news first. When Iga goes out of these tournaments in rounds 3 or 4, or doesn't get to the final, for example, we tend to see the signs from the get-go. Think about the Sofia Kenin match in the first round in Australia this year. Think about the Pegula match at the United Cup last year in Sydney, albeit rather than in Melbourne. But, we could see something happening. And then coming back to, I know I'm flicking around the 2 years of 23, 24 in Australia. But again, coming back to Australia this year, we saw the Kenin first round, the Collins second round, and it was building and it was building. And then the Noskova match happened. And when the Noskova match happened, so unlike, Carlos dropped a set today. Carlos had the 5-set win over Tiafoe in Wimbledon. We see Djokovic drop sets from time to time and so on and so forth. But we go, you know what? It happens. You get through, and that's the most important thing, especially in the first week. With Iga, partly because of that fragility or that, it's actually a sign. It's a sign that maybe something is brewing. So that's the bad news. Do you want the good news?
Yeah, I'll take the good news, and I'll circle back to why I think that is, but I'll take the good news.
Sure. The good news is she won today.
Yeah, the good news is that she lives to fight another day, but I do agree, like those matches and names that you mentioned, like Carlos Alcaraz going 5 against Tiafoe, even Novak Djokovic, I think last year he went 5 against Laszlo Djere. It feels after that match happens, they've got something out of their system. Like they've been tested, they've got through it, and it kind of frees them up. Where in Iga's case, even last year at Wimbledon, when she got tested by Bencic, I think she even saved match points. The next match she played, she lost against Svitolina. So even like you said, in Australia, the match against Sofia Kenin and Danielle Collins, close calls, and then Noskova happens. And even just going back to this year, Cincinnati, she lost a set in the quarters to Mira Andreeva, and that was kind of a sign of something being frazzled. Yeah, it was building. And then the next match she plays, she kind of puts in, Sabalenka played well in that match, very well, but she didn't really have a fighting chance in that match. So for some reason, I feel like when she is very strongly tested, instead of it kind of allowing something to get out of her system, it puts something in her system. It allows that second guessing to be in her system. And I guess that would make sense if you're the same woman who 24 months ago won 37 matches in a row. Like maybe she's still not that comfortable losing or being tested, So when she gets tested, it does feel like the ground shakes for her, and the very next match is like a slippery banana peel, and she's shown that she can slip on it and fall.
Question about Rybakina. Moving on from Iga to Rybakina. Is she playing better after splitting with her coach, or is it too soon? Well, two things. First of all, I didn't see the match. And secondly, even if she played the best tennis of her life today, I think it's way too soon to make those kind of conclusions.
And against the level she played, Destiny Aiva really, doesn't really have the pedigree.
Just looking at a couple of other results on my screen. Let's just flick back up. So Daniel Collins, this is probably the only match I'm qualified really to talk about today. I know I said I saw the first set and a half, but so I didn't see the conclusion to this match. But I can tell you a lot about the first set and a half. And even though I didn't see the third set, I have a feeling I can see how that was going, because Danielle Collins won that first set 6-1. But let me tell you now, it was not a 6-1 set. She was being pushed and pulled and struggling a lot on her serve, Danielle. And at 6-1 looks like she breezed through that first set, but she had, I think, almost every service game she was going to deuce and struggling through it. Then in the second set, I think she goes an early breakdown before getting back on track. And there was a service game she had in that second set, which lasted almost 18 minutes on her own serve. And she won that service game. And you thought, okay, she's up a set, they're on serve, but it felt like this is going to be difficult now for Danielle to lose this match, or difficult for Dolehide to win it. And the next game, as so often happens, when you come through a massive service game and you hold serve, she broke Dolehide for 3-2. And I thought, that's it. However, Dolehide was not going anywhere. And hats off to her. I saw her get it back on serve. And I think I left that match at about 4-all, something like that. And I thought, this is turning into a dogfight now. And Danielle, in the middle part of that second set, did start to spray shots. You know, those ones that just clip the line or just land in were now going out. And she was also getting frustrated. And that doesn't always mean anything with Danielle. She gets out of her system, she moves on. But there was a sort of a semi-racket smash from her. And I was a bit concerned from her, because she was also not missing from neutral that. You know, sometimes she misses a neutral shot. That's Danielle. She's going for it. It happens. She was missing short balls. The short balls were going into the net. The short balls were going wide. And I was like, oh no. And in the end, of course, I dipped back in an hour later and she's lost the match.
Yeah, I was surprised that it kind of unraveled for her. But also, again, benefit of hindsight, the last couple of matches she's played have unraveled for her. Going back to the Olympics with Iga, that one unraveled for her, and she ended up having to retire. The match she played last week, which probably was really less than smart planning, to go to Monterey, regardless of what that appearance fee looked like. That. Yeah, she won the first set against Erica Andreeva and then lost the next two. So kind of unraveling there.
In Paris, or in the French Open, she decided to play Strasbourg the week before.
And got to the final, didn't she?
Of Strasbourg, yeah, but
she lost to Madison Keys, yeah.
And Madison was just on another level that day for a variety of reasons. But yeah. I mean, I think also with her strategy or planning this year, it's been a lot about trying to spend time at home when she can, which there's obviously this North American swing, but I guess she just decided to rest at various points. And you might say, well, rest in that week before the US Open, but she actually said something to me in Strasbourg, or said something in the press conference anyway about, you know what, why not play Strasbourg? Because I think she was asked about playing Strasbourg instead of being in Paris warming up. But it is what it is. Fingers crossed we still get to see one or two more highlights for her career before it does finally come to a close later this year. Sinner and Alcaraz dropping a set.
More surprised by Alcaraz than Sinner, especially the fact that Sinner dropped the opening set. It was kind of there's a lot going on in my mind, and maybe the strategy of competing against Mackenzie McDonald is a little bit fuzzier than it normally would be if I didn't have those things going on off the court. But Alcaraz dropping a set in the middle of the match after winning the first one pretty handedly is a little bit more worrying to me. But it also is in keeping with the Carlos Alcaraz we've watched so far in his career. He does the spectacular, and amidst the spectacular, he can kind of look a little careless, and that's kind of what his opponent took advantage of. But I'm not intensely worried about either of them dropping a set. But
I scoreboard watched the Sinner match, so I kind of know how it went. I was actually listening to the commentary that Matt was doing for Talking Tennis as well. Hi to everybody on both Tuned Into Tennis and Talking Tennis right now. Make sure you do hit the like button and subscribe to the respective channels. So I was sort of scoreboard watching, but there was a crucial moment in the Sinner McDonald match where Sinner loses the first set 6-2, and actually McDonald gets an early break at 1-love, and then has a pretty lengthy service game at that 1-love to consolidate. I think he threw in a few double faults. Now, this is not me here saying McDonald goes on to win that match, but who knows? It could well have been 5 sets if McDonald, consolidates that break with a set and 2-love. We could be looking at a very different, length of match, at least for Jannik. And we know how Jannik, sometimes is with 5 sets. So that's one thing regarding that match. The Alcaraz match, bit weird to drop that set. Hats off to Lee too, and it's great that he had a moment in terms of the way his career has been. Alcaraz, I see the thigh strapping is back, but we'll have to keep an eye on that, I think, in later rounds when he probably gets tested a bit more. Shelby Rogers' career is, I'm pretty sure it's at an end. That was her last match. I think there was a presentation for her as well. Was. So that's nice.
It was Dominic Thiem-esque.
Yeah.
Dominic Thiem-esque with the flag of pictures and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think they've all been getting it because what's his name got it too? Schwartzman, yes, exactly.
And Gasquet in qualifying.
Okay, yeah. So that's kind of. I think he hasn't officially announced it, unless the U.S. Open are ushering him out the door.
No, it'll be. I think he announced it's his last U.S. Open. I do believe he'll turn the corner of 2025, similar to Schwartzman, and say goodbye at their home countries. But
he might
it's their last U.S. Open.
Yeah, he might do the French. Might call it a night or call it a day at the French Open. That would.
Is he going to get? Is he going to get the same kind of ceremony that Tsonga got back in 2022? I still remember that. That was probably one of my favorites. Yeah, that was a really good ceremony.
Yeah, really nice. Tell you what, João Sousa, by the way, got a really nice ceremony in Tiny Estoril this year. Really good. The montage on the video. So it was on big screen, and there was Rafa Nadal, Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer, some Portuguese players as well, and other players as well, all coming on there and giving their bits. It was Tsonga on a smaller scale in terms of the environment and the people tuning in, but it was equally as good in its own way. So nice to get a little mention there for João Sousa. But yeah, so Shelby Rogers there. Pegula goes on through. Any cause for concern for Jessica, or because she was a breakdown, and I don't know, maybe found it a bit more difficult than I thought she would.
No, nothing in that match alarmed me one way or the other. It was kind of a standard run-of-the-mill Jessica Pegula playing somebody that's really a couple notches beneath her kind of match. But I wouldn't be concerned if she finds herself in a tighter situation against Sofia Kenin, especially if Sofia Kenin plays off the ground and on serve the way she played against Raducanu today.
Wait, so Kenin's her next match?
Yep, Kenin is her next match. Yep.
Ooh. Okay. Right. We've actually still got a match in play right now as we speak. Tommy Paul is up 2 sets and a break.
Surprised that is. I don't think I've ever taken a chance to look at their head-to-head, but I did think Sonego would be able to put up a little bit more of a fight because he's just coming off of that title in Winston-Salem. But if history is indicative of anything, well, Sonego has beaten Tommy Paul in Cincinnati in 2021, so he has a hard court win. But something about that Winston-Salem trophy doesn't really yield the best results at the U.S. Open.
I don't know if it was Nick or somebody was talking about the likelihood of going deep, and the last time somebody did so, I think somebody said Kevin Anderson maybe won it. I don't know if that's the year he got to the final, or it might have been another year when he just went deep in New York. But yeah, the week before, not just in the US, but also for the US Open, but also in Australia, it's not tough. It's not always a great sign.
So far, Noskova lost today to Putintseva, which is a bit of a tough draw, but Noskova lost Lulu's son, who was the finalist. She lost, so he had a retirement. McCartney Kessler lost yesterday to Kostic, who won Cleveland. But Beatrice Haddad-Maia surprisingly got a win over Avanesian today.
Yeah, that was a match that I thought was a 50-50. I think I actually had Avanesian winning that in my bracket.
I did too.
And I think I know someone else who did as well. I think it's Kira, because Kira told me at the beginning of one of our streams today that I think she had Avanesian in her semi-finals, maybe. But I love a bold prediction. So even though Avanesian goes out in the first round, I'm not going to be reminding her. I was hoping that Avanesian would get to the semi-finals because I did an interview with her a year or so ago, and
I love that interview. I love it.
Yeah, and every time she does well, there's another 500 views comes on that video. So, but sadly, I don't think that'll be happening over the next couple of weeks. Tsitsipas out.
Tsitsipas out, Felix Auger-Aliassime,
Yeah.
and Holger Rune out.
Yeah. Obviously, Holger was yesterday, but yeah.
Oh wait, Holger was yesterday.
Yeah. Come on, Miles. It's your time zone, more or less.
That wasn't today. Are we sure?
No, it was yesterday. Maybe it's been lingering for 24 hours. There was an interesting tweet from Holger today, actually, on the topic regarding just about. He said getting 39%, I think, was of his first serves in is just not good enough. Apologies to my opponent for basically. He's basically just on Twitter angry at himself, and he wants to put a quick apology to Nakashima out there, who, of course, was sensational.
I thought the Jack Draper match would have been a little bit closer against Triple Z, but something had to have happened because Zhang Jijin retired down 4-love in the third.
I think it might have been a shoulder issue, but yeah, so that's a pity. Good news for Jack, though, because I was concerned at that draw for Jack because I thought this is a 55-45 probably in Jack's favor. And what 55-45 tends to mean is 4 or 5 grueling sets. And whether Jack wins those 4 or 5 set match or not, it's not good for him going forward because a bit like, Yannick-esque, but certainly Yannick from a year or two ago, and Holger Rune, for example, although good news for Holger is he's losing in an hour and a half these days, so he doesn't have to worry about long, grueling matches. So what was I saying? Yeah, so good news for Jack that he got through anyway, unscathed. But yeah, Tsitsipas out is it's another low, I guess, even for Stefanos, who's not got a great track record in New York.
Another low, but it doesn't feel like we are getting into much lower territory because I'm not much. I mean, obviously his ranking could get lower because he's still a top 20 player, but I don't know if even lower ranking would really change how I feel about Tsitsipas because at this point, it's pretty much, to me, Grand Slam, either another Grand Final, or bust, or Grand Slam champion or bust. If he doesn't get back to that stage, I feel like his career is largely going to be a what if underachievement type of tale, I think, especially with how he was talked about just a couple years ago and the opportunities that he had in the finals that he was in. So it just doesn't look great for him or Felix for that matter. I don't think Felix was talked about as a sure Grand Slam champion the way Tsitsipas was talked about, but he was in the conversation at the same time Tsitsipas was, and his gap between where he is now and future Grand Slam champion seems even wider than Tsitsipas's. So
Korda, nice win for him today. In straight sets, looks very comfortable over Moutet, so maybe he can have a nice run here. Andreescu losing to Paolini in 3 sets. So looks like I saw somebody tweeting Jose Morgado saying that maybe one of the matches of the year, but unfortunately I didn't get to see it. But that would have been
pieces.
I saw some of the people in the chat obviously talking about Shelby Rogers against Pegula, whether it should have been on a show court, prime time, all the rest of it. I think just because of the Shelby retirement, I think if it's not for that, then either Bianca Andreescu, Paolini, or Raducanu Kenin both would have been befitting of a show court and a grandstand finish, if you like.
And both of those matches proved more entertaining. They both went preset, and they were both, they had a better energy to them. So would agree. Definitely would agree.
Okay, Medvedev also dropping a set, but he's through as well. Bolton, okay, she emerged the winner despite losing the first set to Sasnovich. Wozniacki dropping just 1 game. Good to see De Minaur fit and firing and coming through in 4 sets. That was a sort of a tricky match against Giron. And the aforementioned Felix. I didn't see any of that match. Not surprised that he lost, but perhaps the scoreline is a bit brutal.
8 games.
Yeah.
Never going to cut it. At least Tsitsipas won a set.
Bellucci beating Wawrinka doesn't surprise me either in straight sets. Leylah Fernandez, now that's a result that had slipped me by. I heard you mention it on the stream, and I was like, oh, Leylah Fernandez. Oh, I don't want to dwell on Emma Raducanu because you and Andre spoke about it perfectly. And if you want to watch it, for those of you still tuning into us live right now, go back to I think it's the 1 hour mark, because I made a little note of when you were talking about it. Go back to the 1 hour mark on this stream, and you'll hear Andre and Miles dissect the Raducanu loss to Kenin. So do that. But yeah, with something to say, Raducanu. There's some of these 125s and 250s coming up. Get yourself out to Monastir in about 10 days from now. The crowd will love you there, and there's a 250 at stake. And the reason I'm thinking of that 250 is I see Maya Sharif on my screen because she signed up for the Monastir 250, and she's out in 3 sets today, despite winning a set 6-love over Pliskova. Pavlyuchenkova through, but yeah, Leylah Fernandez. Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, there's a clip that I think might be going viral of Leylah Fernandez just completely miscuing on her toss. I definitely tweeted it myself and was like, this is really bad. Her game just does not, even in her win against Rybakina last week or 2 weeks ago in Cincinnati, her game looks very dysfunctional. Which is so odd to me because I have such vivid memories of the 2021 US Open run where her game was so reactionary and reacting to pace, using it against her opponent. Nothing looked like it would ever break down in her game, but she has a case of the yips and kind of giving away free points based off of loose ground strokes, and she definitely isn't going to win that many matches if she's doing that. Because she doesn't have a major weapon, really. So, yeah, not a good loss for her, especially as the 23 seed.
A slightly less in-depth look at Leylah's game is it just honed, which is the way I'm going to take it at the moment. Is just the serve. I see her go up breaks left, right, and center. She's going up a break, and I'm thinking, doesn't mean anything. She's going to get broken back. I saw her foot faulting a bit in one tournament earlier this year, and I thought, I wonder if she's just trying to gain every single millimeter that her diminutive frame can possibly do in that, at least in terms of going forward, not going up. But
you know who I think of? There's a lefty who made a career out of working through those very big service issues, and we know her well. Angelique Kerber. There was a time where Angelique Kerber break meant next to nothing because her serve just was not holding up. And maybe she should watch some Kerber matches and see what Kerber. I mean, Kerber never really made her serve the weapon of her game, but she made it less attackable to a certain degree. In certain parts of her game or certain parts of her career where she really was excelling. So maybe Fernandez should have a chat with the now retired Kerber.
Yeah, well, she was also up setting a break. So Scott is saying on Twitter, which I wasn't aware of, but it this doesn't surprise me. I just don't feel any comfort when she has that. Equally, when she's down on the scoreboard, sometimes her fighting spirit gets her back into matches. But there we go. Both 2021 US Open finalists on the women's side, at least, out today in the first round. All right. Well, Milo Andreeva through. Artafis through, had dropped a set en route. We already spoke about one or two of these other ones. Samsonova through as well. Tabilo is out. That's a pity for him.
Who do you lose to?
Goffin.
Okay, that's not a terrible loss. In straight sets, maybe, but not terrible.
I think you're being kinder than me. I don't think that's.
I think when I made my bracket, I think I picked Goffin to win that match actually because he picked up a couple of wins in Winston-Salem, and I thought, he has momentum.
Okay. Well, someone else who was winning matches last week was Mickelson, who, when you mentioned Sonego earlier, I was thinking about Mickelson because I've got a soft spot for him, and I know he messed up pretty badly with obviously whacking that ball into the crowd, and of course he got away with it. But he's one of these guys who makes an error, but like that, and immediately he knows it. He's not someone who doubles down on it for sometimes hours or weeks or months or even years in some people's cases, let's say, without naming any names. But and so at least I like that from him, and I've been up close to him. I've spoken to him a few times at press conferences, and he's a delight. He's a delight to watch. I mean,
with the hell of a backhand.
Yeah.
Watching him in Dallas, I was quite impressed because he doesn't have the typical American male backhand. It's a really thorough shot. So hopefully that doesn't justice over his career.
All right. I think that will do. Just to say that Jari was out as well, Mukova is through, and Navoni through as well, and Tsitsipas Tormo too. All right, listen, Miles, big thanks for that stream, and I'm sure we'll be crossing paths again very soon. I may as well at some point between now and the end of the US Open play your minute of watching Coco Gauff get over the line last year. But I'll also play, and I'll play it as we go out in a second, your little promo clip of 15, 16 seconds of
Thank you. I need to elongate that, and I also
I
need to.
was thinking that it's a good 16-second thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, feel free to make a longer one and obviously send it across, and we'll use it on Talking Tennis from time to time.
But
as well.
I need to find a way to scrub the internet from my Coco Gauff reaction video.
The other thing I would say about you, this is just my 16 seconds, is if you can find a longer one, that's obviously even better, especially one that sort of dwells at the end, showing us your socials.
Yeah, I can do that.
But it's up to you. I mean, just obvious. But listen, big thanks, Miles, and we'll speak to you soon.
All right, take care, everybody. Keep talking tennis.
And here comes.
Sean in the comments said that Raducanu has played 3 sets this month.
Wow.
I mean, she has, because I believe by the time she was exiting out of Washington D.C., it was like July, like the later days of July, I think.
Is there a reason she didn't play at Cincinnati or Montreal or Toronto?
Qualifying.
Is it just her ranking? Oh,
It was she would have had to play qualifying for both, and I don't think either gave her a wild card. And I don't think I think she made time to go back to the UK in between DC and the US Open. And I think one of the reasons she didn't play qualifying is because she wanted time to go back to DC, and the other time is she didn't want to like pick up a potential injury before the US Open and jeopardize that. But that decision in hindsight probably warranted the match result she got today, especially that first set against Sofia Kenin. She lost it 6-1. And I don't remember the last time Sofia Kenin beat anybody 6-1 in a set. So, it's crazy how like lack of match play just between a month can really affect how you go out there and play.
Yeah, I think for the Raducanu, I can respect that maybe she's trying to figure out how much her body can handle because of so many injuries from before.
Mm-hmm.
But I think she might be at a time that maybe she wants to amp up a bit and just play a couple more matches.
She should definitely explore her options in this post US Open. This post Europe, it's like European / Asian, but mostly Asian because of the WTA tour now fully going back to China. She should explore what her options look like to either get wild cards or to just flat out play some of those 250s and 500s. She definitely should. I'm not saying she should go like pack up her bags and like find an Airbnb in Asia and just be there for 2 months, but if she wants to find out how far she can take her body as a professional tennis athlete, you just have to play. There's no other way around it. So More power to her, because I mean, she showed glimpses of how good her game is in her loss against Sophia Kenin tonight, but ultimately she still lost, and that's not giving you momentum.
No, yeah, or confidence. Like she needs to start winning a couple to start feeling like she has that. Closing honestly, mentality.
Yeah, honestly, it would be nice for her to. I don't think she's been in a final of any level since she won the U.S. Open. It would be nice for her to just like prioritize getting to the final of an event, even if the event is like a 125K. Like she should prioritize that, I think.
Yeah, I feel like Raducanu winning a 125K would at least like give her something, because she hasn't. I don't think she's won a single title in any level since the U.S. Open.
Nope.
Nope.
Swarner saying she isn't playing at 125, but
I can see that.
Like that's kind of the point. Like the fact that Swarner and I'm sure other people feel confidently that she's not going to a 125 is kind of the problem. I forgot who was it that you know what? I'll go with this because it gets popped into my head. The likes of Vera Zvonareva, who made 2 Grand Slam finals in a season, got to world number 2. When she came back to play tennis, I mean, hers was more of a maternity leave type of thing, but she didn't stray away from like having to go down to 125s, even some ITF tournaments, to rebuild your ranking and rebuild your confidence on the court.
Yeah.
And although Vera Zvonareva didn't actually win a major, she was as close as you can possibly get to doing one that you can get. So if she has that kind of resume, world number 2 player, 2-time Grand Slam finalist, if she can kind of bite the bullet to go play some challengers, it's hard for me to give a pass on Raducanu for not even entertaining the option. I'm not saying make a career out of it, but like 1, see how it feels. 2, see how it feels, you know?
Yeah. I think just getting a trophy in her hands should be enough to just say like, okay, I'm done here. I'll go back to trying to like take on the big guns now.
You know what's the biggest example of that? The most famous example is Andre Agassi, and he did it. He played challengers when they were super not luxury, like.
Oh yeah.
And he was a multiple-time Grand Slam champion at that point. He went back down to play challengers to get his game together. So if he can do that, I don't see why Emma is above it. So.
On the screen right now, tweet from Jake Davis. Recall people talking about Emma's physical issues being a huge determining factor as to why everything had altered to her level. It's valid, but now you look at her game and it hasn't kicked on or developed. So many errors to improve and not enough standout strengths.
Yeah, she did look. I can't say I wasn't impressed during the grass court season, because coincidentally she had a win over Pegula, who's on our screen right now, at Eastbourne, I believe, and I think she got to the semis of Nottingham, maybe. Nottingham, she got to the semis, something like that. She put together a couple of good weeks in a row during the grass court season, which it would make sense that she would do that because she's been very open about the fact that she likes to go back to the UK and train. And what's in the UK? Grass courts. So I don't know. She's kind of still an enigma, and I'm not going to say I won't take her seriously because we still have that factor of like she can just turn it on, and we've seen what turning it on looks like. It looks like a U.S. Open champion, but I'd like to see her add a couple of more tournaments, just because like there's no way around how to become a tennis champion or a consistent tennis champion. You have to play the matches, and if she's not playing the matches, then it will always be kind of fleeting with her.
Hey everyone, Vaughn here from Talking Tennis. Let's talk about Dan Evans defeating Karen Khachanov in a first round match at the US Open. 5 hours and 35 minutes. How about that? That's a US Open record, surpassing 5 hours and 26 minutes in the 1992 US Open semifinals between Michael Chang and Stefan Edberg. But there's more to this match as well. I mean, the first 3 sets were incredibly physical. Evans had 5 set points in the first set, and 3 before the tiebreak, 2 in the tiebreak itself where he led 6-4. And Khachanov comes back and wins that set. And Khachanov then served for the second set, didn't get it, got broken back. Evans won it in a tiebreak. Khachanov also had a set point in the third set, didn't get it. Evans came back, won that in a tiebreak. So you have now Evans going into the fourth set with a 2-1 lead, 6-7, 7-6, 7-6, 3 hours and 30 minutes. This is brutal physically. And you also have the context of Evans being a really historically difficult matchup for Khachanov, leading the head-to-head 4-0. And in this match, it was actually the Russian who was getting the better of longer exchanges in sets 4 and 5 because he just had too much from the back of the court. His sheer power, his pace of shot, also the advantage that he had on just getting some free points on the serve with the body serve and, just more muscle and more weight of shot, particularly shoulder height. So Evans really had to get super creative because his legs were going out on him and he found himself down love 4, 15-40, in danger of getting bageled in the 5th. And he had lost the 4th set already 6-4. So now it's pretty imperative for Evans to dig deeper than he ever had. He showed tremendous amount of grit, determination, resolve, used the backhand slice amazingly well, got the ball below Karen's knees where he's not as comfortable, and he was able to make his way forward, serve and volleyed a ton. A key stat from the match, 48 out of 71 points won at the net. So really, really awesome stuff. This is a guy who put his career on the line, 184 in the world, and he played the Olympics when he could have defended his DC title, but chose not to. So congratulations to Evans. He's moving on to the second round.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.